Hey there, friends. It's Bill MacDonald, the Common Sense Mac Doctor. And I have a quick question for you. Have you ever heard the expression, everybody wants their little piece of the pie? Pie is in math different than regular pie. So I'm not talking about the math pie, the 3.14. I'm talking about an actual pie. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. So usually that term comes into play when you're talking about money. So I brought my monkeys with me, and it's harder to see the green ones because of my green screen behind me, but this little green monkey is going to represent profit. The money that's left over after you make income and pay your expenses. So green is going to be a good thing. We'll say green is our profit. Okay. Now, some kids get confused with the expression that they think that income, money that comes in, is the same as profit. We have to make sure they understand that sometimes when money comes in, other money needs to go out to pay for what's called expenses. Okay. So if you think of the acronym PIE, let's let this green monkey represent P for profit. My yellow monkey, because we're going to say, hey, slow down. Yes, you made some money. That's some income there. So profit, our green, how much left you subtract, is going to be whatever income that we make, how much left you subtract. Yellow says caution, don't take that to the bank. Do a subtraction problem and say, before I can actually call something my profit, I've got to do some red and reduce some of my profits by paying my expenses. So pi equals profit equals green equals my income, the yellow monkeys, all that money comes in, but slow down, minus the red monkeys, the expenses. So pi is going to be a simple acronym to help kids remember the difference between profit and income. And because the problem that we're going to look at today had a measly 35% of the kids in Texas, only 1 out of 3 kids in Texas understood profit compared to income with whatever curriculums and programs you were using, I had to think of a different way. How can I think of profit versus income and expenses in a way that kids will remember and it will stick in their little heads for long enough? So I came up with an actual picture of a pie. And you notice not all of the pie is there. Some of it is missing. So when you talk to your kids about why is there something missing from the pie, well, that's the red part. That's the expenses. So think of profit as equal to the income that you make, the money that comes in, yellow, because we just can't spend all the money that comes in. We have to subtract, red, our expenses. So green monkey profit equals yellow monkeys minus the red monkeys. So this is another thing that I'll include for free if you take the time to email me. I'll show you something that's on the other side when we're talking about gross revenue versus net revenue, gross income compared to net, because that was another very difficult question. So sometimes it's just these two words that confuse the kids. And so instead of finding out how much left, you subtract by taking away the cost of the expenses. All your students did was add up the money that was coming in. So let me show you that in a problem. And so you may want to get a green, red, and yellow colored pencil to kind of do the questions. This again is from the 4th grade math surgery based on the most difficult questions from the 2021 test. And it says it was a supporting standard. The problem with that is if they were supposed to have learned this in 3rd grade, technically, and reinforced it in 4th grade, that means a lot of kids went into 5th grade because these students from the 2021 tests are now in 5th grade. Only 1/3 of them understood and perhaps still understand the difference between profit and income. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to read the problem that has periods. Then I'll read the question that has the question mark. Chris buys things at garage sales and sells them at a flea market in his town for a profit. Okay, buying and selling, we do that all the time. And so regardless of what we're talking about, every single kid needs to understand the difference between profit and income. Chris bought a lamp, a frame painting of the beach, and a golf club for a total of $23 and 0 cents. So 23 in the whole numbers, that's 23 ones, $1 bills, or 2 tens and 3 ones. He was able to sell these items for the price shown in the list below. Okay, so here's what I think happened. A lot of kids completely ignored that $23 where he bought stuff. Buying stuff means that money leaves your wallet or your purse, money goes away. So that part is probably the reason why most kids struggle. So here, let me show you the way the kids probably did it. I'm holding up my first green monkey here. He got $17.50 for the lamp. That's some money that came in. He also received, and people will ask me, these monkeys are from the Dollar Tree. They come in red, green, blue, and yellow. You get 3 each for $1. He received $13.25 for the frame painting. That's income. That's not profit, but I'm using green because that's what I think your kids did. They thought this was profit. He also sold. So when you sell something, you get money. When you receive money, you get money. When you get money, you get money. So I put it different ways so your kids could get used to money coming in. And so I have 3 different little monkeys. And the cool thing about an S, it looks like a $sign. So we had 3 different types of revenue from the items that we sold. And so if the kids added up those numbers, here's what happens. Here's my mathematics chart. $17.50 for the lamp and $13.25 for the framed painting. And notice that I made a little, what I call a highway of decimals, where I circle all the decimals in a straight line to make sure they're proper line, because what will sometimes happen is, since the golf club was sold for $18 and nothing else, a lot of the kids don't know what to do with the nothing else part. Well, nothing else means that there's no dimes, no tenths, no hundredths, no pennies. So it's just $18.00. So why do I have this part yellow? Because it wasn't profit, it was just income. His income, when I added up all of these items that he made money on, was $48.75. So why is it yellow? Because we slow it down and say, hey, that's just income. Okay. When I subtract what I paid, but let me show you the problem real quick. Since many kids misunderstood income meaning profit, they stopped right there and said, oh, the answer is letter A. $48.75 was his profit. No, it was not. $48.75 was the money that came in. It was just the income. If you were to take it one more step, I believe, and it's been a while since I've written this problem, if you take the $48.75 and add the $23 that he paid for the items, that would have been a more green or more yellow. And you cannot subtract, you cannot add when you pay for something, you must subtract. So this was wrong, this first one, because that's his income. This letter B is his income plus his expenses. The I and the E of pi. So we've got two choices left. It's either $30.93 or $25.75. So if we look at our little picture once again, if I say, oh, wait a minute, profit is the green, that's how much left, you subtract. If I take the income, the yellow monkeys, and subtract the expenses, then I'll get that green. And so what needed to have happened, your students should have thought of income is the, hey, whoa, slow down. That is money that's coming in, yellow. But before we can call it profit, we have to subtract our expenses. So using my mathematics chart, I have green, and this was a dry erase, wet erase marker, so it didn't come out as clearly. But when you say how much left, you subtract, you end up getting $25 and decimal 75 cents. So let's see if that answer is one of our choices that is available to us. There it is. We have our income minus our expenses equals the profit. Okay. And so that's where pi comes in. And I'll use the colors. So reversing that, profit, the green that's left over, is equal to income being yellow. Don't just go spend money that you make unwisely before you subtract your expenses. So does everybody want a piece of the pie? Yes, but you have to remember that if you're going to run a sound business, you've got to remember to take away your costs, your expenses, before you can call things profit. So I'm sure if I do enough other mathematical equations, I'll figure out how in the world somebody would have come up with $30.93. But um, that isn't the answer. So we won't choose it. But I do want to close the lesson by just doing what I call a teachable moment of instruction or a teachable moment of intervention. So across the nation, if our little sample, our little cross section, our little piece of the pie, our Texas only had 35% of our kids that understood the difference between profit and income, I'm sure that your kids do as well. So if you take the time to email me at the word writing_doctor@yahoo.com, I will send you this little picture for free, or you can have it as an anchor chart, or you can have your kids make their own little fake pies, make them colorful, and make sure they use green for profit, yellow for income, that they're cautious with, that they are careful to subtract their expenses. When I flip this over, you get an additional item for free. A lot of students misunderstand the difference between gross revenue and net revenue, someone's gross salary versus their net salary. So a very simple way to remember is gross is the total revenue of someone's salary, the amount of money they make that day, that week, that month, that year. And now you must eliminate taxes. And if you're doing your taxes for the entire year, you might eliminate expenses and taxes, and then that way you're going to get your net income. And unfortunately, sometimes your net income is going to be in the red. And so it would be very important, if you are a teacher who has students working with negative numbers, negative integers, make sure you explain to them that if your final net income is negative, you might use the term that you're in the red because your net income, your net profit was below zero. If you have a net profit above zero, then you can use The green monkeys, that's the dollar sign. That's the money that's left over that's still above zero when you're done subtracting your expenses and your taxes. So do me a favor and share this video with any math teacher that is working on money. I want to close by sharing one more cool thing with you. On the last 2 pages of my mathematics posters, I have these cool fake pictures of $100 bills, 50s and 20s on one page. And I have, let me see, I've got tens, fives, and ones on another page where if you make copies of those, then you can actually have a store in your classroom using real money with the real presidents and people's pictures on that money. And I do mine in pegboard, and I have that here. I want to show you. This is my cash box that I have. So when I come to your school and I'm working with your math students, if I can do this without knocking it over, I normally pay in dollars. So you can see there that I have it. This is an actual cash register that I bought at Walmart. And you see the ones, the fives, and the tens and the 20s inside the little bins. And like they do in some of the stores that try to be careful with their money, they either hide the 50s and the hundreds in the back, or they put them underneath. And then also as part of the mathematics posters, I have all of the coins in paper, of course, pennies, let me see if I can let you see, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And if you work with 50-cent pieces, you might put some 50 cents or some silver dollars so that your kids can be aware of that kind of money. And when you play a game called How Much Change, you can remember you subtract. So that's just an idea. Have a store, and when the kids see that there's a real cash register, and notice that it has a real lock on there, because I don't want my kids being tempted to take money from my store. And you can use a lot of terms like revenue and income and cost and penalties and debits, credits. Use mathematical terms so that whenever your kids do get questions like profit, income, cost, expenses, gross income, net income, they're going to be able to handle that vocabulary, those word choices, W, because you've talked about them all year in class with your little store. And I know that teachers are not rich. Sometimes teachers should be called Walmart and HEB, because it seems like we're always buying things for kids. And I understand if there are certain kids that need pencils and paper. Sometimes we want to bless somebody with a pair of shoes or some clothes because their pants are torn accidentally, not on purpose, just to look stylish. So if you have my suggestion in your mind and say, well, I really can't afford that, well, don't have a store every day or every week. Maybe have one once a month or every 6 weeks, and the kids can buy something. And whatever you're selling things for, whatever you feel like is relevant to your students, make sure it's something they can relate to, something that they would be motivated enough to try and earn your money. But I highly suggest that there needs to be a way where on your board or on your screen or in a book that you keep track that if your kids are following rules, you can write a check per se and add income into your bank based on that student's account, or take away, remove money, um, because really radical classrooms have rules, rewards, and consequences. Whenever your kids are following your rules, then give them a reward based on extra income, revenue, salary, raise their salary, give them a raise, give them a promotion. Who is your student of the week? They should get some extra money. If they do things that you feel are breaking some of your rules, there needs to be a consequence. And so there needs to be a debit from their account, either from the actual money they have in their possession at the time, or as I said, you can have your own bank in a book where you're removing money, because some kids will try to hide their money and say they don't have any. So, oh, I've got your money in my bank right here, and I'm going to take away the money. And so unless we practice those terms with our kids and relate to money in all the different ways that they're going to receive questions about it, then it will be hard for kids to do well in problems like this. As you saw, the one on profit versus income and expenses only did 35%. The one on gross income and net income, that one I think was in the 30s or 40s as well. So please do me a favor and share this video about money with your math teacher friends, maybe with some of the parents who are trying to help their kids get that concept. And as I did mention, if you take the time to email me, I will send you this cool pie chart that I made where profit is equal to your income minus your expenses, that your gross revenue is your grand revenue of someone's salary, your net income is after you eliminate expenses and taxes. And when you go to the Dollar Tree, look for these tiny little barrels so that when you can think of money, you can use the little red, yellow, and green monkeys to talk about adding money, putting money aside, yellow, and subtracting the money, red. So that's all I got for you today on net versus gross and profit versus income. Thank you guys and have a wonderful weekend.